everyone. We're here today in Rock Crusher, which is up in Homosassa Springs, doing our jamming with Bruce and Michelle. And Bruce, who's the band we're going to talk about today?
So it seems like Groundhog Day to me. I think this is the third time we're actually recording the Steve Miller Band.
It is. I can't find it.
Can't find it. One time the mic wasn't on, so you get the best of the best.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
All right, so where do we go to see Steve Miller?
Steve Miller, we saw at Ruth Eckerd. I believe that was our first concert at Ruth Eckerd back in, I believe, March or late February, one of the two. And we were third or fourth row center. Steve Miller was literally sitting right in front of us the entire evening.
It was a great concert, and Ruth Eckerd is a beautiful place.
Yep.
We've been there several times since then, but it is a wonderful place.
I think we've seen 4 or 5 shows there now, and it's a really awesome place.
And so we learned a lot about him and his band and what things he did. So why don't you, do we have any trivia? Let's start off
So
with
we
that.
do have a trivia, which we'll answer later in the show. But who was Steve Miller's famous godfather?
Right. All right, so when we come back, you'll be able to tell us.
I'll be able to tell you.
So what do we know about Steve Miller? How long has it been around?
So Steve Miller, first off, which I didn't know, was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, about 30 miles from where I grew up. So he probably got some of his talent from me.
I'm beginning to think that you're picking all these people because they're from Wisconsin.
Just picking Hall of Famers.
Just a few hours away, so all right, I'll let you off.
He formed his band originally in 1966 in San Francisco, and part of his original band was PASCO, who became famous afterwards.
Right, so we were young.
Yeah,
we were
very young.
Very young.
Barely walking.
And what kind of music? What kind of music do they play?
So he started doing blues. That was his initial entrance into music. Blues and jazz type thing, and then became rock out of San Francisco.
Right, and his guitar playing was fantastic. I mean, we were so close that I loved watching just his fingers just so fast and playing. It was great.
And he probably went through 10, 15 guitars during the show.
He definitely did, and one of them had little teeny strings. I mean, did he say it was like 16 strings? Something like 16 strings. So his range was, very wide. And what are some songs that they play?
So some of, there's so many to list, but you got Jet Airliner, Swing Town, Fly Like an Eagle, Space Cowboy, Joker, Abracadabra.
Yeah,
and the list just goes on and on. With 50 plus years, he's put a lot of music out.
I was surprised that I knew almost every song, knew the words.
That was a great part of the concert is he played the best of. And it's kind of hard to narrow it down to 20-some songs, but he did it.
Yeah, definitely so. So who are the players? So we can give them all credit.
A couple of the members in his band, well, all of them. You got Kenny Lee Lewis on guitar. You got Gordy Knudsen on drums. Joseph Wooten on the keyboard. And then on the other guitar was Jacob Peterson.
Great. And so who's our trivia?
So our trivia was, who is Steve Miller's famous godfather? It's none other than legendary rock pioneer Les Paul.
And everybody, if you ask them, they like those guitars.
Yep, you either have a Les Paul, a Fender, or there's a few others. And Les Paul is from outside Milwaukee in Waukesha. And Michelle, what's Les Paul most famous for?
Guitars.
He was a pioneer in the solid body guitars. And then for recording techniques, he's famous for his work with overdubbing and multi-track recording. Before he really started pushing on that, he used to have everybody in a room and it was recorded on one track. And now, if you've seen Bohemian Rhapsody and some of the other rock things, or you watch Sammy Hagar and he goes through the recording, sometimes the band members aren't even together. They're doing their own tracks and then they all get mixed together.
And wasn't the other night somebody was saying that they never even saw one of the people? They just showed up and played and went home.
Was that the Who, I think, or Phil Collins, Genesis, I think.
I think it was somebody in there. Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes they don't even see, and I just recently heard we're going to see the Who later this year, and The Who's not playing well together right now, and they're actually recording an album, but on opposite sides of London because they just can't get along. So concert should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be. Maybe it'll be full of excitement and such. So, Steve Miller, is he coming to Florida anytime soon, or where is he right now?
So we actually saw him several months ago, and I looked it up. I think he's on hiatus right now. This is it for him. He's going to be up in the Northeast throughout August, and then he's moving out to the West. He's got 1 or 2 dates out there in September, and then he's wrapping up in Las Vegas with 3 shows on, I believe it was October 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Right.
So if you want to see him, you got to get out there because I believe this is it for him.
Wow. Yeah, we'll be out there, but like a week or so later.
Yeah, we're going to miss him by like 3-4 days, or we definitely go see him again.
Definitely so. So, anyways, that's great. Anything else you want to tell us about Steve Miller?
I've been listening to his songs since the mid-70s when I was about 8 to 10 years old, and still sing them today. Before we started recording, I was singing them, and the birds were all flying away. I guess they could hear me.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on our review of the Steve Miller Band. And this is Michelle and Bruce, and we are
Florida Rockin' River.
Oh my, now I'm working with another Jeff.
We don't do them for a month or 2, and she expects me to remember.
Okay, here we go. Who are we again? This is Bruce and Michelle, and we are Rockin'
Florida Real Estate. See you soon.